Do you know what we're starting this with?
We review.
Thank you for getting it out.
Thank you.
Well, we're not starting with a wee review because actually I've got a very important episode for you guys. It's a very big episode and we need to get right into the topic straight away.
Oh.
This week, we are covering time travel.
Oh.
But it's an interactive episode for you guys because do you know what I've done?
What have you done?
I've made a Sci Guys time machine.
Have you brought it into the studio?
I brought it into the studio.
What the bloody
It's
hell?
even, look, if you look under your chair, you'll find your little Sci Guys time machine. Don't worry.
There it is. Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
when I press this button that is just slightly off screen, we will all be
Wow,
transported.
that's such a big red button.
It's a big red button. It's
trust us.
I made it very easy. It's like, in fact, you know what? There's so many little cogs and little twisting parts there. It's very intricate. It's just a shame you can't see it.
It's a fourth dimensional button right there.
When I press this button, do you know what's going to happen? We're going to be transported back in time throughout the last year. We can relive our greatest moments if we want.
Now, why would we want to relive 2020?
Because
you want to?
It's been a great year for Sci Guys. So why
It
don't we just
absolutely
go?
has, actually. Let's go. Push the button.
3, 2,
Oh.
1. All of this stuff that I've laid out right now was to set up all of the things you guys have been saying. Genuinely, this is the kind of direction that I want to take it. Yeah,
This is what we do. Ruin Corey's work.
No, honestly, I know that you ruined my work, and I took that into account and put it into my work. I planned for this to happen.
Oh, he's evolving.
Yeah, progesterone is basically, it can also be used as a basically what's it called? Sexy
Contraceptive.
no kid. That's it.
Sexy no kid.
Sexy no kid. We started studying animal homosexuality, well, I mean, a long, long time ago. So we've got observations that were published back in the 1700s. And then over 200 years later, well, I say over 200 years later, in about 1910, which is over 200 years later, actually, if you do the maths. And even if you don't do the maths, that's the great thing about maths. It's still 200 years later.
Stop.
It only becomes 200 years later once you do the math.
It's not Schrodinger's cat. That's not how it works.
Once you observe it, then it...
Clearly, someone ascribes to the... I thought I would remember the word when I started talking, and I didn't. Let's just forget about that.
I probably don't even know the word. Let's move on.
Copenhagen. Someone clearly ascribes to the Copenhagen interpretation. That's something that you can look up. So in 1910, a team of scientists set off to go to Antarctica. So there was a guy named George Murray Levick, fantastic name, a zoologist and a photographer. So he went to study penguins, specifically the Adelie penguin colony. And he was looking at what we were doing day to day. He's basically writing Happy Feet, but you know, about real penguins instead of about cartoon ones. And in his notes, he noticed that some male penguins would, you know, get it on with each other. And in some cases, I think they would end up raising orphaned chicks together.
That is
gay penguin
so
dads.
Lovely. Oh my god.
The gay penguins, the icons that are the gay penguins.
I mean, there are gay penguins. Is it Edinburgh Zoo? There are gay penguins, or is it the zoo in America?
So New York Zoo had some gay penguins that were the inspiration for Tango Makes 3. I want to say that's the name of the book, but it's like a very famous and banned in a lot of places children's book about gay penguins.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, so it's the New York Zoo. That's great. I do love gay penguins.
I'm looking at a book about gay penguins and going, ban it.
No.
Illegal. Not in my bookstore.
Illegal. They haven't even banned slavery in most of the world, but they've banned gay penguin books in some
Can't be
of
having
it.
it.
Well, okay, think
Ahead of the
about
time.
it, Luke. What is more harmful, right? Slavery
Yeah.
can't turn people gay.
Think of the
Gay
children.
penguins.
That's true. That's very true.
Oh my lord. Yeah, so you know, I don't actually know. I don't actually know whether these ones raise chicks, but yeah. So he noticed gay penguins, but he was and this is from the sort of article that I got it from. He was apparently concerned about the graphic content, and he only printed 100 copies of Sexual Habits of the Adelie Penguin to circulate privately. Okay,
That
now I've just made it sound like he's circulating gay penguin porn. I want to make it absolutely abundantly clear.
He's done Happy Feet fan fiction on
Created an underground
mature Happy Feet fan fiction.
penguin porn ring. What the hell?
Would you guys like to read my penguin smut fic? Perhaps.
Yes, 100%.
Please, the new spin-off show from Sci Guys.
My friend wrote a porno
X-rated.
about penguin smut.
My friend wrote a penguin porno, and each week we'll read a new chapter.
Like, honestly, I don't think I can write a chapter of penguin smut and carry this podcast on at the same time. So clearly we're going to have to drop this one and just move straight into penguin sex.
That makes sense.
It's the only logical route.
Happy Feet is actually a penguin fetish film.
Oh, you don't want to see the porn version of Happy Feet, honestly.
No.
It's actually, oh. Flappy feet.
Wow.
That doesn't make it... slappy teats. Anyway.
Sorry. Too much.
Literally just before we started this recording, did you not tell me to keep it clean?
Ah.
I can't. Honestly.
Only Kari can make it dirty.
I said to not swear. We're allowed to make as many innuendos as we like.
In which case, carry on.
Wow. I'm going to take that as a challenge, Corey. I'm going to turn as much of this into an innuendo as possible.
You already do.
Yeah, you really do.
I do not.
I don't think you do it intentionally, though.
I turn everything into a questioning of reality, not an innuendo.
You say something sincerely and then we make it an innuendo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Male dolphins go through temporary gayness, apparently.
Temporary
Yeah, so they have...
they tried it in college, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Quite literally,
gay
they
phase.
do. So these dolphin calves, they have sort of temporary sexual partnerships with other dolphin men. I said dolphin men. Male dolphins. Dolphin men is what arises. Look, go back and listen to our pilot episode. That's how you get a dolphin man. That's a joke.
On
that only a few people
patreon.com
get. Yeah.
Sci Guys.
Patreon.com/Sci Guys.
Go listen.
So gay dolphins are a thing that exists, but only temporarily, usually. So they go through a short period of being gay in college, and then that teaches them how to form lifelong bonds, you know? Which is
with other male dolphins?
with female dolphins.
Oh,
Otherwise,
wow.
there wouldn't be very
It's
many.
like when you
The men
practice
teach each
kissing
other.
with your friend.
I didn't. No,
I didn't do that.
no, I didn't do that at all.
Just all these
Sure.
dolphins
No.
like spinning a bottle on the bottom of the ocean, like, oh, shall
Spin
we?
the bottle nose.
Spin the bottle.
Wow. I just really like the idea that they had to have studied these dolphins through their whole lives to realize that that's like a thing that most of them go through. The idea of just like, oh my god, I can't believe our little dolphin babies get. Oh, maybe he's not.
Huh?
Oh, okay. Oh, we're learning so much about Kevin, aren't we?
Oh.
Weirdly stalking him in the ocean.
I thought he was
That's so
gay, but he's
true.
not.
Because like, even if you don't study them right the way through, you're like, okay, this is Kevin. Oh, he's gay. Okay, you come back later, and you're like, what happened to Larry?
Sleeping with a girl.
Oh God, yeah, he's with a girl now. But I've got a little story about a dolphin that I loathe to tell, but also love to tell. Now, I was swimming with dolphins once, and I was with a large group of people. We were in the sort of dolphin
Oh, not
tank,
this. Not this.
I suppose. Yes, it's this story.
Everyone has this story because the dolphins really do like it.
I really hope that not everyone has this story. No, this is not the story you think. So the dolphin was lying on its back, getting a nice belly rub from everyone. It was lovely. It was great, you know, good time. This like sort of 6-year-old kid or so was next to me in the dolphin tank, and while the dolphin was on its back getting lovely belly rubs, said, "Mummy, I found its blowhole."
Oh dear.
Definitely didn't find its blowhole.
Oh wow!
Well, interestingly, there's a documentary on Netflix about a man who fell in love with a dolphin, and had like a really intimate sexual relationship with a dolphin. This is a real show on Netflix. He talks about it. He's interviewed, and he has this story where he's like rubbing this female dolphin's belly, and she like moves up so that he's not rubbing the belly anymore. So like maybe your friend in
Horny
the
dolphin.
in the dolphin tank, maybe the dolphin moved there.
This wasn't
'Cause
my
they seem-
friend. This was some random kid.
Okay, well,
I
maybe
don't
this
associate.
person maybe the dolphin actually moved there rather than the kid finding the yes.
Well, in that case,
Dolphin
that
was
dolphin
like-
deserves to be locked up because
Dolphin was like, just a
Sure,
little
I
love.
didn't say
As
that it
a
doesn't.
child.
But yeah, it's a really interesting documentary about this man who has like an intimate relationship with a dolphin.
a really interesting documentary is not something you say about dolphin sex.
It's interesting. I didn't say it's good or right.
Look,
Just
I'm not
it's
saying that being a
interesting.
furry is good or right. It's just interesting. Okay, it's interesting.
Well, it is interesting. I think it's very interesting.
No, it
being
is very
furry.
interesting. Yeah. So we've known about the existence of people with no mind's eye for more than a century now. So in 1880 or 114 BL,
BL
So
is a
explain
niche
BL.
reference.
yeah. Okay, BL is our frame of reference for years because nothing existed before Luke.
Yeah.
Therefore, we measure the start of time from the day of Luke. Well, not the day of Luke's birth, the year of Luke's birth.
Yes.
So
Yes.
BL is before Luke. Do you know what a fossil is?
It's an old dead imprint of a dinosaur.
It's like remains that have been. It's remains that have been kept nice and tidy.
Doesn't have to be a dinosaur, but they often are.
I've seen a fish.
This is too chaotic for me.
It's something it's preserved, right? Preserved dead animal
You know
things.
No, because the fossil isn't actually the thing, is it?
Well, it is. Okay,
It
right.
is, but
you're-
it isn't.
Both of you are kind of. The thing is, you're hitting on the points,
Right.
but you
That's
could
not right.
you could equally be describing some chicken in a Tupperware. Couldn't
Yeah,
you?
true.
Yeah.
It's preserved over several years. Still could be chicken.
Describing a paper mache.
Isn't it?
So a fossil is physical evidence of a prehistoric plant or animal.
Plant. Oh, of course. Yeah. I didn't think
Plants
about that.
Plants,
existed
you're not
too.
allowed fossils.
No. I just thought it would be like, usually it's like bones, isn't it?
Well,
It's like, where are the plant's bones? What's it got fossilized? It's just got plant.
so fossils could. So fossils could be preserved remains or other traces, such as marks they left on the ground. So you're right in saying that it could be a trace, but it can be
Yeah.
bones and it can be plants.
Can it be footprints?
Yes, that's a trace that one leaves in the ground, is it not?
Yes.
So yes, it can be footprints.
Crazy.
Have you guys guessed what we might be starting this week's episode with?
It's episode 69.
Wait,
No, we're starting with a wee email,
We're starting
James.
with an email.
We email.
We're starting with 69.
No, we're not starting.
We're
with
not
69,
69ing at all.
Nor are we
For those
continuing
listening,
with 69 or ending with 69. No 69 will be
Well,
happening.
we might end with. You don't know where it's going to go.
Can never
Well, I'm
realize.
going, so you guys can do what you like when I'm gone.
Well, that's fine because it wouldn't be a 69. If anything, it would be a 669.
Imagine what porn would be like during the Thanos snap. Just one
Well, half
person
of the
would be
people
left.
just disintegrate.
How many
naked and
people? How
confused.
many people would get a snap kink after that? I mean, like you're in it with someone, and then suddenly they just pop away, right? But then 5 years later, right? And this is a really long form porn. 5 years later, they suddenly snap back, and you
Yeah.
just get right on in it again.
How many people were watching cam girls that just disintegrated on a live stream? They just turned to dust and they were like, what the hell's happened?
Okay, right. That's so true.
That's
I
so
have just-
true, right?
Okay, here's the thing. How many how many teenagers having sex for the first time, right, who were like, oh no, we shouldn't have sex before marriage, right, reach the point of orgasm, and suddenly their partner disappears.
Just disappears into thin air.
Satan has taken him.
Mum and dad were right.
Oh no! Like honestly, I mean, chances are that happened to someone, and I want to see how
Chances are
messed
that
up.
happened to many people.
Yeah, I want to see how messed up those kids are. After that. But no, sex. Back to sex. So, you guys understand that our lives are basically finite. Yeah.
What?
What?
Oh God.
Excuse
guys.
me?
I'm sorry.
No, what?
Yeah, you're not living forever in all
I have
likelihood.
to find out about mortality and sex today? What?
Today is such a
Well,
bad day.
I mean, sex couldn't really exist without mortality, could it?
No. Well, sex could exist, just not then
Sexual
creating a child.
Okay, so when I say sex, I'm not talking about, the sort of colloquial. I'm talking about sexual reproduction.
Sure. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Right.
sexual reproduction is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Sexual reproduction couldn't really exist without mortality, really, could it?
No.
Because otherwise,
There'd just be loads of people.
it'd be it'd be loads of
There would
everything.
be quite a few
There'd be
people.
lots of everything. You'd run out of space. Then you would need that snap.
You know when you are playing Snake and the snake gets too long and you have no space left and then you crash into the walls? That's what sex would be like if there was no death.
It's like you're just constantly changing your tail. You can't. Yeah.
I would have crashed into the wall a long time ago. Quite a while ago.
I'm sure a lot of like men in their probably 50s think they have a personal relationship with porn, like cam girls,
Oh,
but they
dear.
can directly
Yeah.
interact with them. So is that still a parasocial relationship? If you're like, hey, if I send you $10, you will twerk. Is that?
You're throwing me the difficult questions, like less than
No,
10
coming in with
minutes.
a curveball.
So,
Well,
okay.
did you come
so
across this in your research?
a little bit? So
you
this
researched
is
some cam girls.
well, look,
Links in the
honestly,
description.
A lot of the Sci Guys Patreon money did have to go to cam girls this month, purely for research purposes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there was nothing else I
We
could
had to do an experiment where Corey formed a parasocial relationship
It's
with a cam
science.
girl.
I just simply could not find the right cam girl. But once I did, I had to
Oh.
give her as much money as possible.
After we tried 22 of them, we finally found the right one.
Rigorously tested for about 8 hours each.
You've got to have a very high sample size in order for
Yes.
your results to be
He does this for you
Statistical
guys.
significance.
No, look, I'm going to be honest. I could try and answer this. I think the fact is that with a parasocial relationship, the key point is that it is very much mediated and controlled by one side. So you could say, in a sense, that cam girls have quite a large degree of control over it, in the same way that a YouTuber, if you know what a YouTuber is, Noah, can read comments from the people that watch them, but they still control that sort of interaction there.
I can
I'm
delete
sure,
them. I will.
I'm sure Shaba has a much better sort of view of that than I might.
So that you're right, Noah, but like the concept, so the original concept that Corey's been talking about is from 56 specifically, 1956, which is like way before the internet existed. When did the internet come into
What's
effect?
that?
Did they have email
It's
then?
before the internet.
Did they have email then?
Guys, it's 1950 fucking 6. It's before the internet existed.
When
They basically just got out
the
of carrier
moon
pigeon.
landing?
When like
The
dial-up
moon landing was
modems happened.
1969.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry for not knowing when the moon landing specifically was to the day. Fuck, I was born in 1999.
Moon landing is the funny number.
The funny number. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I will
it's
remember.
69.
Thank you for not being
I will
patronizing.
always remember that. Thank you so much, Jeff. Oh my god.
The funny number.
The funny number.
The 20th of April, 1969. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now imagine if it was though.
It's
It
a
was
knee
though.
slapper. It's a knee slapper.
Haha, weed jokes.
But no, 56. So social media was definitely not a thing there, and two-way interaction wasn't a thing. So in most recent parasocial studies, it's definitely been looked at as a pseudo-parasocial relationship, with the idea being that an interpersonal relationship, I know you, right, and you know me, and we know each other on equal levels. But Corey's like, no.
Oh no, I'm enjoying listening to you. This is my enjoying listening to you face.
Oh, stroking the beard. But if you take for example, any of you, Corey, you have a creator presence, you're on YouTube, you have thousands of subscribers. There is no way that you could maintain an equal relationship with all of these people. So even though you might see them at meet and greet sometimes, even in person, even though you might tweet or like their tweet, it's not equal. It's still a parasocial interaction.
Okay,
Ah.
that makes sense.
You know what? Luke is not here today, but I'm very glad that Shaba has very, very, aptly taken up the role of Luke to spoil what I was just about to talk about.
Oh god. No, it's a good thing.
No,
It's a
it's a
good
good
thing.
thing. It's a good thing. No, it's how the podcast works.
Noah, I'd like to start by asking you how whether you know anything about quantum mechanics, because I think it'd be so exciting if you don't, and at the end you do.
I stopped studying physics at the age of 13.
What? That's not even legal.
It is. For some reason at my school at GCSE, you didn't have to take all the sciences, so I took biology and chemistry because I'm bad at maths and bad at physics, so I know nothing.
Do you know what an electron is?
An electron is a little. It's a. Oh god.
Little.
It's
not chargy
electrical. It's a little thing. It's
Close
got-
enough. Very good. That's all you. So we'll go through the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, and I need to be very clear. This is a thought experiment. No one has ever done this because that's silly.
It's
Okay.
like
think
the Monty
someone
Hall
must have
problem.
tried.
Someone should try it.
Yeah.
No. No, we're not.
We could try it on Sci Guys.
Isn't there a cat in a fridge or something? Was that something you guys talked about, or am I just thinking of that?
I think you're
Cat
just
in a
I
fridge.
think you're just
Don't worry then.
I
I
don't
don't
think so.
Okay.
don't remember. No, so Schrodinger's cat. We start off with a cat, as one might expect. We have the cat inside of a box. The box is sealed. You can't see into the box. It's opaque. All of that. Great. Along with the cat in the box is a vat of poisonous gas, okay, which is connected to a Geiger counter, which is something that measures radioactivity, and also a piece of radioactive material. Okay?
Yes.
All of these things are in the box. Now, there are different things that can happen. Basically, two different things. The radioactive material can decay, and if it decays, it sets off the Geiger counter, which is connected to the poisonous gas, which would then be released,
And then
which
no
would
more,
kill the cat.
No more cat.
Nope, dead cat.
Yeah.
Okay? That's one eventuality. Very, very easy. Dead cat. The other eventuality is that the radioactive material doesn't decay, at which point nothing happens, cat lives.
And those are equally likely.
Those are equally likely. So this is the key part here, that the radioactive material, the radioactive decay, works on the quantum scale. And that, therefore, follows the laws of quantum mechanics, the sort of things we've been talking about beforehand, wherein these things exist in superposition until they're measured. So that means that so long as that gives you basically a measurement system of whether this radioactive material is decayed through using a Geiger counter and a cat.
Yeah, I get where Schrodinger's coming from, because I remember you did like a TikTok video about Schrodinger's cat, and you explained it to me, and I was like, that's so stupid. It's like that's so dumb. It's not science. I won't accept it.
So yeah, that exactly. So then you've got a situation where the box is sealed, so you're not looking in the box, so you've not measured the outcome. Okay, so if you've not measured the outcome, then that means that it's in superposition, which means that the cat is in a position of being both dead because the radioactive material is decayed, releasing the gas, and alive because it hasn't decayed and it hasn't released the gas. It's in both of those positions at the same time. But a cat can't be both dead and alive at the same time. But under the Copenhagen interpretation, this is showing that with the Copenhagen interpretation, that's what we would have to.
It doesn't work
We'd
on
have
a
to
macro
conclude.
scale.
That's what we
Is
have
it
to
both
conclude.
alive and dead?
It's both alive and dead.
Now, what I don't understand there, Corey, is that we have been, one of the things that's a misunderstanding of quantum mechanics a lot is that we talk about measuring a particle's position, for example. And sorry, am I about to ruin?
No. I just knew you were going to bring this up.
Okay. So we talk about measuring, and we think the kind of most people would think that means looking, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean looking. It just means like anything can do the measuring. It means interacting with something, like you say, becoming entangled with another system. And in that case, the other system is the Geiger counter that's measuring the radiation, which that would collapse the wave function.
Yes.
Whether the thing decays or not, the wave function is collapsed by the Geiger counter.
Yeah, so that's the thing here, that there is that issue of which I was gonna bring up next, because it's a really interesting question. That what kind of counts as something being measured or observed as soon as it sort of interacts with something, as soon as it interacts with something else, then it's measured, you know? Well, this is the thing. Some people interpret the Copenhagen interpretation to mean that that means that consciousness dictates reality. In that
It has to be a living thing.
there needs to be a
viewing
conscious
it.
observer. Yeah, there needs to be a conscious observer for these things to be measured. But obviously, a lot of other people think that
We're not the only things capable of observing things,
or measuring.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are being very selfish.
Well, people are very selfish. Yeah. So there is that issue of, well, it would be the Geiger counter that measured it. But then if it wasn't the Geiger counter that
Also
measured
the
it,
cat.
Yeah, what's
The
the
cat
cat
would-
saying?
the cat
yeah,
would
no,
know
the
if it's
cat,
alive, yeah.
yeah. Again, thought experiment. It's just showing a problem with the Copenhagen interpretation.
Could be going.
What about if the cat? Okay, what about if? Okay, it decays, right? The wave function collapses because of the Geiger counter. The Geiger counter sets off the poison. The poison kills the cat. The cat then can't observe the fact that it's dead, and so the wave function goes back in time, and it doesn't collapse because nothing's observing the closed system anymore, and the cat's alive again.
And observes its dead body. That's it.
We forgot about cat ghosts.
What's that scene in Endgame where the rat causes everything to happen.
Oh, the rat did
that's
save the day, yeah.
That's the scene in Endgame where a rat miraculously, after 5 years, managed to press a button.
Rats don't even live 5 years.
Like, I will tell you,
This rat wasn't alive.
Oh my god, that rat was born after the
Yeah.
world was snapped.
Yeah.
Stop.
There's
Amazing.
a flaw.
That rat was less than a year old, which is about the age that rats live in the wild due to predation. But
The fact that Doctor Strange had to like view that world and he had to look at that rat save the world. And he was like, oh yes, that's the world where things are going to go okay.
how many worlds? Right.
He was looking for the
so
rat. He was like,
he-
where is it?
There were there were what, like 8 million, 5 million worlds that Doctor Strange looked
It
at?
was 14 million. I'm pretty
14
sure.
million.
Yeah.
Okay, great. How many of those, right, were the rat walking in the exact same place, just a couple centimeters to, to the right or left?
Nearly, you almost got it.
Is this like in Rick and Morty where Rick destroys his world and then just moves to another reality
Well-
where he didn't destroy the world?
Yeah, basically, it'd be a case of watching all of those very, very similar realities where the exact same thing happens, but just not quite the
It's
right
like
thing.
being edged by a rat.
Another universe where the rat was too skinny to press the button.
This is the thing. I bet you Iron Man didn't actually have to die. Doctor Strange just did not want to watch any more times of that rat having to press the button. He got to one where the rat pressed the button. That was the thing that needed
Like,
to happen.
This
And
is
he
such
was
a
like,
podcast. Let's talk about Marvel.
Yeah, we
Okay.
get the pop culture in
It
there.
actually very rarely happens, and I don't really know what's going on. So.
that's
Move
why
on.
it very that's why it very rarely happens. Because suddenly it's a two-man podcast.
Yes.
I'll just get a cup of tea.
Besides humans, what other animals menstruate?
Would it be all mammals?
You'd think it would be all mammals.
You would
Nearly
think.
all mammals.
not.
Nearly all mammals.
Oh, you'd think it'd be nearly all mammals, wouldn't you?
Is it just us?
Yeah. It's not just us.
Okay. I
It's
didn't think
somewhere
so.
between nearly all mammals and just us.
Have you
Oh,
never
that
seen a
narrows
dog
it
with a
down.
pair of pants on, Jan?
With a pair of pants
Wait.
on. No.
So when your dog has a period, one thing that people do is they get a pair of pants, human pants, they cut a little tail hole in it, and then they put a bit of human like panty liner on it, and then the dog menstruates onto the panty liner rather than all over your carpet and your sofa.
I was today years old when I found out dogs have periods.
They don't.
They don't.
No, they
What?
Wait, hang
They
on.
don't.
So why was my friend always putting pants on her dog?
It must be something. Because I've been to dog cafes. That's weird, but you know, in South Korea, basically they had nappies on a lot at the dog cafes. And I
might-
assumed it was because of they were on their periods.
It might have been because they were inside and they didn't.
Yeah,
want
they
them
didn't want to have them
Yeah.
peeing and pooing.
Yeah, it could be. It could be for a number of reasons. This kind of reminds me of the Monty Hall problem. Have,
I love that
have any of you guys heard of the Monty
I've
Hall
not
problem?
heard of that. No.
Okay,
Oh, you have.
fantastic.
Have I?
Yeah, you must have. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll set up the Monty Hall problem for you. If you know the answer, please don't say it. And then I'll ask each of you, choose an answer, then I'll ask each of you to tell me what you think the answer is.
Okay.
So the Monty Hall problem. Okay, it's based on an old game show. There was a guy who did the game show called Monty Hall. That's not really relevant. What is relevant is that you have 3 doors in front of you, okay?
Yeah.
Behind 2 of the doors are just an old boot. And behind the 3rd door is £1 million, okay? Right? So the presenter knows what's behind each door, right? So you get a choice to choose one of the 3 doors, okay? So you choose door 1, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? So then the presenter then opens door 3, and behind that is the old boot. The presenter asks you, do you want to switch? Is it in your
Oh.
is it in your interest to switch or to stick?
I heard something about this recently.
So
You should
so-
switch, right? Is that the correct answer?
so just give me your answer, and then I'll explain which one is right and which one isn't.
I would say switch.
Okay, Luke,
Switch.
Evan, you know the answer.
I'm going to switch.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jam, why would you switch?
It's something to do with because when you are first choosing, I don't know if I'm going to be able to put this into words.
Oh, you've
I think
got
I need
this. You've
I
got
need a
this.
mathematician's words. But when you're first choosing, you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting the car, right?
Mhm.
Then the man, the mastermind, opens the door and takes away one of the bad options.
Mhm.
So you're left with 2 options. Now, in making the second choice, it's 1 and 2. It's between. It's a 50-50 chance, right? So you should switch.
That's one of the that is kind of one of the.
I don't know how to put this
explanations.
into words properly.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the
Wasn't really
explanations.
there.
Okay, so the way that it works is that when you first choose, you've got 2 bad options and 1 good option, right?
Yes.
So you've basically got a 2 and 3 chance of choosing the bad option when you first go. And the second time round, you've basically got a 1 in 3 chance of choosing the bad option. if you switch.
Well, by 1
Hold
and
on,
3, I
wait.
think you're doing this. You're doing a 33% and converting it to 1 to 3. There's only 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you're right, and it is 33%. I'm picking a wrong answer. If you know what I'm saying, it has to do with the sample set.
Yeah.
As in, when you pick your first door, it's exactly what you both said. You have 3 possible answers. One of them is right, so you have a 1 in 3 chance of answering correctly. But as soon as he reveals a bad one, you have 3. The way to look about it now is forget about the original. You have 3 choices. All right. Your 3 choices are. You have a choice to stay. But the Monty Hall only removes a bad one.
Yeah,
that's the answer. So when you have 2 out of 3 bad, he removes one of the bad. He's never going to remove a good one. So let's just say he removed the bad one that was in 3, and you're on a good one. If you switch, you lose. However, if he removed the that one and you're on a bad one, you switch, you win. However, if he couldn't remove the original one, you can't switch from that one, because if you would, you would have lost. Basically, you have the 2 chances of losing versus 1 of winning.
Yeah, I think basically at the start, right? So at the start, you have a 2 in 3 chance of choosing the bad option.
Yes.
Right? There are lots of different explanations for it, but they all kind of call down to the same thing. You've got a 2 in 3 chance of choosing a bad option, right? And when Monty Hall chooses a door and removes one of the bad options, right? You've basically then, if you switch, if you started off with a bad option and you switch, then you've got the good option, right? But if you start off with a good option and you switch, then you've got a bad option. And in the original choice, you had a 2 in 3 chance of choosing the bad option, which means moving into this next one, you've got a 2 in 3 chance of if you switch, you've got basically a 2 in 3 chance of switching to the
in the
good
original
option.
choice,
Yes.
it was more likely that you picked a bad option to begin with. Right.
So it's better for you to switch. Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Because
That's what I was trying to
perfectly done.
articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
This is the
yeah.
thing. This is the thing that I had in my head. As soon as you try, like, you can understand it.
It's like
and then as
it's
soon as
like
you try to explain
it's like a feeling, but it's like putting it into words is so difficult
Yeah,
sometimes.
but this is the thing. Most people that heard this initially would have thought probably that they should stick, or that it doesn't really matter.
What's more like, I got gumption. That was a good choice. I don't want to switch.
Well, yeah, that and the fact that it's
Because it can seem like it's just a 50-50 chance.
it feels
Yeah.
like sort of instinctually, it feels like a 50-50 chance because there are 2 doors. But realistically, when you look at the probability behind it, it's really not.
You're most likely on a bad option.
Yeah, and this one
Going into
annoyed
that
me
choice,
a
yeah.
lot when I first heard about it. I didn't agree with it for about a week. I had genuinely had to Google it and look up so many different explanations of it before I was like, fine, I guess.
The thing is, I've heard of this before, but I've been so frustrated with every explanation I've ever heard. Because I'm just like, but it's 50-50. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And does this actually, if you run the experiment, do you genuinely, like, I get that it works in theory and the logic of it is sound, but does it actually work? If you were to run the experiment, are you more likely to win if you switch?
100%.
In
Yeah.
practice.
100%.
This is the thing about maths, is that, and maths and probability, is that it doesn't, I mean, if you've got the proof there, then
There's stats before. Sorry,
No, go ahead.
There's like the probability and the proof is there, so it doesn't matter. It's like saying, yeah, but what if I flip this coin another time? I bet it's going to be tails. Like, you can't do it. It's going to be the same no matter what your thought process is. And in a world in which you can do it an infinite amount of times, it will always come out to be that same thing.
Here's the thing about math and science, and why maths, another slight difference here, and that was a great thing that you brought up just there, Evan, the flipping a coin. We could flip a coin right now 50 times, right? Mathematically, we should be getting 25 and 25. Actually, there'd probably be a slight difference because one side of the coin is slightly heavier. But let's say it's 25 and 25. But we could very conceivably sit here, flip the coin 50 times and get 50 heads. And that wouldn't prove the maths wrong. It's just that
That's a sample set.
yeah, exactly. You've got a sample set of 50, which is,
Unlikely.
I mean, it's unlikely, but it's possible.
Possible.
It's perfectly possible. And that's the thing. You can't really say, well, the Monty Hall problem, would that work in practice if you were to experimentally do it? Because you don't really tend to do things experimentally or empirically with maths.
It
because,
just is.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
is. Because ultimately, if you wanted to prove it empirically, you would need to be able to experiment with infinity. You'd have an infinite number of sets, and that or sort of infinite number of experiments, and that just isn't possible. which is why maths works with sort of proofs and data in that sense, and doesn't work with empirical evidence.
It's like when you do the proof for why 1 + 0 = 1, you realize that there is no way around that. It has to be that way. Like there is no other way of that happening, or that any number squared is going to be a positive. Any integer squared is always a positive. How the heck do you prove that? There's a proof. But once you prove it, there is no, what if we try this? By doing the proof, you've literally proven it infinitely for any possible integers, because that's the point of it. And so for the Monty Hall problem, there is a specific proof you can look up where they use the choose cases, and you can see right there, yes, it works for all instances.
No, I understand and I trust it. I just wondered whether whether it has ever been actually carried out. Like for example, the TV show that problem is based on. If you watched every episode, genuinely everyone who, like, on average, if it's a 66% to 33% difference, did most people who switched win?
Oh,
this is the thing
that
when
doesn't
you
matter, does it?
No, it doesn't matter. This is the thing that when we apply these things to, say, real life situations, sometimes we can run into trouble because things that should be truly random cannot be made truly random. It's what I was saying earlier about the only reason that a sort of rock paper scissors works under game theory is that it's not truly random because of human choice. And while yes, like if you had a large number of sets, you would expect to see that. It's difficult to look into that. And I think, to be honest, the Monty Hall problem, that as in the game show that this problem is based on, I don't think that actually had a scenario that was exactly similar to this.
Yeah,
that you could look over.
Also, on the topic of game theory, I believe one of the main tenets of game theory is that you assume that all players of the game are competent players. That is one of the main tenets. And so in the Monty Hall problem, you just have normal people who don't know that the game has maths behind it like that. And so the game is inherently flawed. And so you're not going to have like people because if everyone knew and you had competent players, everyone would switch.
But then when you've got incompetent players, if you're going to do that, then the incompetent player would then be another variable.
Correct.
You'd have to say, okay, well, there is the high likelihood of the player being incompetent and not understanding how to play the game, and that adds a completely new. That complicates it to a completely different degree.
I don't understand why no one could give me an answer as to whether this has been checked, even if like 100 times, even if 500 times. Like,
because mathematicians
there is no reason to check. No reason. It's infinite.
I understand that there's no reason to check because the logic is sound. I understand that, but why has nobody checked? I understand that the logic
should
is
have been
sound.
checked, right?
When you get off the
checked.
podcast, I think you should just check the TV show, check how many times the game was played, and then see what the statistics were.
Wait, we have a YouTube channel. We should do it one time. We should check it.
Subscribe for that,
Somehow.
please.
Okay, right. What we'll do for you, Luke, right? We will prove the Monty Hall problem for you.
Yes, please.
I will set up a Monty Hall problem. I will properly randomize it, as much as you can with a random number generator, and I will set it up for you to solve. You know how the game works. You can do it, and you can see if it works.
I'm just getting frustrated because literally I'm Googling this as we're talking, and I'm just like, Monty Hall real life, and it's like, there is no real life application for this. Monty Hall statistics, and it's like, the statistical mathematics. It's just like, shut up, just give me some data. Like, just, I don't understand.
I think it's because it's like Corey said, it's that part, it's like you're talking about topology. It's like this other part of math that isn't necessarily needing to be in real life. It just inherently is there.
Yeah. So the thing with with topology, where like you can turn a mug into a donut without making any new sort of holes in it or anything, or destroying any holes, you don't need to use clay to do that. You know, you don't need to use a piece of clay and mold it to see, or get an actual mug and mold it to see if you can turn it into a donut. You just, there is the mathematical proof for it, and that's enough.
They have the same number of holes. That's it. You count to one.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly, and that's why I think that you've really hit here on the key difference between how maths works and how science works. In the 50s, an entire town in France went temporarily, let's say insane.
Yeah, a little bit psychotic, maybe.
A little
Yeah,
bit,
a little
yeah.
bit,
Well, quite a lot. But the thing is that we don't necessarily know exactly what caused it, but we've got a few good ideas.
One of which is
one
the American
bad
government.
idea. No, we've got a few good ideas and a lot more bad ideas. It's obviously ripe for conspiracy, but I'll tell you what the good idea is now. Do you know what the good idea is, Luke?
The American government.
Okay, no.
That doesn't sound very good to me.
So there is a species of fungus.
Yes.
It's called there's a species of fungus that causes a fungal disease called ergot. Have you heard of ergot before?
No, I've
And
not.
Okay.
Please inform me.
I will. But I just want to say you've heard of ergot and yet you're going for the American government.
Well, okay, look, the reason I was going for the American government is because I'd heard this story as it was part of a series of trials. MK Ultra mind control experiments, which there are other evidences for. There was an agent who was given LSD and jumped out of a window or something. And also one agent tried to slip LSD to his boss or something like that. And basically they were supposedly trying to understand how they could control the mind of their targets. Basically.
We should do. I mean, we've spoken about this for over a year now. We should do an episode on MK Ultra at some point.
Yes.
Whoever makes the episodes needs to get around to that because because we've been
pick up the pace.
Yeah, we've been
Whoever
lacking on that
makes
one.
the episodes.
Yeah, that dunce. So yeah, you're right. MK Ultra was quite a big sort of American
mind control experiment.
Yeah, that's it. I could not remember the words. Someone must have controlled my mind. No, it was a big American mind control experiment.
No, they're trying to wipe your mind right now. Like he knows too much.
They're succeeding.
They're on to us.
It's the 4G radiation, 5G radiation, guys.
5G.
They're either wiping that from my memory too. But no. No, so the American government did do some mind control stuff, but it may or may not be related to this. You could make up your own mind based on what I tell you soon. So ergot, it's a fungal disease. It's basically a disease that infects cereal grasses. So that's like stuff like rye, and in fact, especially rye. So it stops grains from being produced. It stops viable grains from being produced, and basically kind of replaces the grains with little sort of fungal pods, I guess.
I thought you were going to say LSD.
No.
No grains for you. Only LSD.
Okay.
Just a lot of like grasses with little tabs
Tabs
on
for
top.
growing off.
Look. I can just imagine someone changing their diet, like removing all the cereals and replacing it with LSD.
I'm going cereal free.
Just a single tab and a bowl of milk. So it's just such a funny.
It's got to have a little smiley face on it.
So the wind carries the spores of the fungus to sort of the flowers of the grasses that can be infected by it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those spores then germinate, which basically just means they sort of sprout, I guess is the easiest way to describe that. They infect and then kill the ovaries of the plant. So the ovaries are what turn into sort of the fruits of the plant. And in grains, that's the bits that you expect the fruit to be. It's the grainy bit. So if you've got rye that's if you've got rye that's infected with ergot, there's a sort of yellowish mucus that
Lovely.
yeah, that comes out of it, and then it sort of loses starch as the ear stops to grow. Stops to grow.
Ear
The
meaning
ear yeah, like an ear of corn, but in this case, it's an ear of rye.
Right.
It's not like a human.
my ear stopped
I want
growing.
just to be abundantly clear, this fungus is infecting grains, cereal grains, like rye or wheat. I guess I don't know if it can infect wheat, but rye is the one we're talking about. So basically, fungus then grows in the ovaries, and then it forms this sort of this. I guess like I said, the easiest way to describe it is kind of like a sac. And yeah, so then the head of grain has got
The head of grain.
yeah, the head.
CEO of grain.
CEO of grain.
Can I get through this, please? Come on, guys. You gotta work with me here.
So I'm do one bit.
So the head of grain isn't necessary.
The deputy of Crane.
So the head of grain
Yep.
can have some infected kernels,
Yeah.
and some non-infected kernels. So just because the ergot is infected the grain doesn't mean that every single kernel is going to be gone. So if you think of it like corn, you can have a few dud ones and a few that are just fine. Wait, yeah.
And so does that mean that is the point of that you might miss that when you then harvest it and accidentally harvest infected corn?
Yeah, so you can't it's not necessarily immediately obvious that that it's infected, because some of them are fine and some of them aren't.
And that's how you get
Right.
LSD in your bread.
I mean,
More
either
or
that,
less.
put LSD in your bread. I mean, that's the easiest way.
Shove some right in there.
Yeah, just pop it.
Just push it in with
Just
your finger.
pour it all
There you
over
go.
it. Just douse it. Beans on toast? Nah.
Spread it
LSD
on. Spread it
toast.
on your toast. Yeah. There you go.
Can't believe it's not butter. Luke, what's IVF?
In vitro fertilization means that the egg, the little egg from the female tummy, is what's the actual word?
Tummy?
Yes, the little egg from the female tummy
Just go with it.
is taken out and it's
Ovaries, maybe?
ovaries. Yeah, that's it. Tummy, ovaries, potato, potato.
Same thing.
It's
Dear
taken
God.
out and it's fertilized outside the body in like a scientific environment, like in a test tube.
Scientific.
You know what I mean? I just mean it's
Can I just remind
In a
you that
park.
scientists listen to our show?
well, the
We're
opposite
all
of
scientists.
the opposite of in the vagina is in the scientific environment.
The vagina is the scientific environment.
No, no,
It can be.
Can be.
Depends if you're doing science there or not.
We could be doing science.
little people in the vagina, like welcome to our lab. Anyway,
Our labia.
it doesn't even happen.
Brilliant.
Anyway, it doesn't even happen in the vagina. So, anyway, so the little tummy egg is taken out, and some sperm is taken out of the peenie, and they are introduced together, and
Hello, very nice to meet you.
lots of the embryos are constructed outside of the vagina or not in the person, and then the ones that are like desirable are put back in the female and then are grown. Usually a few of them are grown and only a few of them like attached, only one or two attached to the cell wall.
The uterine wall.
The uterine wall. Sorry, not the cell
Humans
wall.
don't have cell
This
walls.
has been I mean, they do in every cell of their body.
No, they don't.
They don't have cell walls.
No, they've got membranes. A cell wall is
I didn't pay attention to anything in biology. I'm so sorry.
I didn't even
As
do
has
biology.
been shown by this last minute.
A quick side note. Animals don't have cell walls. They've only got membranes. A cell wall is like a tough outer layer. So it's only really plants that have that.
Okay. That's something for biology GCSE if you're studying that.
Yeah, if you're studying that, look to the future. We might be doing a little bit of something. A little something. Yeah.
So, in vitro fertilization.
Oh, dear God.
Basically, fertilization that happens outside the body in
In vitro.
a scientific environment.
In vitro.
In vitro.
Which means in glass.
In test tube. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
One of
where you
my-
get the term test tube baby.
Yeah, one of my friends from school was a test tube baby.
Oh, really?
Cool.
Yeah, I'd written this entire episode and I got to the end and I remembered, oh yeah, that guy.
Were they weird?
Um,
I don't know if this was any cause of the
no, he's not.
IVF.
Well, look,
itself. Could be.
I can't stop thinking about when mummy test tube and daddy test tube love each other very much. They make a test tube baby.
Oh, and it's just tiny test tube.
Tiny test
Little
tube.
tiny test tube.
Grows
so
into a
does
big
one go in
test tube.
go into the hole of the other?
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds awful.
Are they
Yeah.
just? Yeah, I don't know.
Why don't we just move on?
Yeah.
So IVF is one of many techniques that are available for people who can't make a baby good. That was really insensitive. If you've got fertility problems, you can use IVF in order to have a baby. And as Luke was saying, during IVF, you look very tired after that.
I
You
am.
look like
That was stressful.
took a lot out of you.
It's a lot of pressure.
Thinking about those.
You also look like a
Babies.
newspaper. You look like a newspaper boy from like.
If you're not watching online, I'm wearing like a chimney sweep hat. What's it called?
Like a little Oliver Twist hat.
Flat
It's kind
cap.
of not
Yeah.
really.
Well, it's not really a
sort of
flat
a bobbly hat.
Yeah.
Good day, me love.
It's what Dick Van Dyke would
I'll
wear.
do the rest of the podcast
It's kind
in
of
this
like a
voice, shall
farmer,
I?
doesn't he?
IVF happens outside the vagina.
Why is he Australian now?
Happens outside the vagina.
The
it does.
vagina, mate.
Yeah, it does.
It happens outside the vagina, did you say?
Take it out the vagina.
Yeah, what do you do with it then?
put it in a test tube.
I put it in a test tube.
Yeah, now it's going a bit New Zealand now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's New Zealand.
Yeah, I
to be
think we
honest
should
with you.
put
Traveling around
we
the
should
world
stop.
Put the
with
sperm in a
vaginas.
test tube.
Okay. So yeah, an egg is removed during IVF. It's
Lots of
removed.
them, actually.
Well, yes, but we're going to follow the story of one little egg.
Okay.
Little egg.
Yes.
Onwards.
They're very little. In fact, you can see them though.
Not that little then.
Well, they're big for.
I've seen smaller.
They're little for
No,
every.
you haven't.
Damn
That's
it.
the point.
Damn it.
It's
It's one of the smallest things a human eye can see.
yeah, it's so
Try me.
it's little for things, but for cells, it's quite big.
Ah, yes.
Okay, because you can see it. It's about. I think it's about half a millimeter.
Hmm.
Maybe it's smaller than that. Off the top of my head, I
Have you
can't
got
quite
one
recall.
to show us?
Actually, I've made one of my own. Let me just take it. Look, there you go.
I've
yeah.
seen smaller.
We are talking about the sides of ice cream this week. Matt, do you want to maybe explain why that's relevant to
Why
you?
I am relevant.
Justify your existence, man.
Justify it, Matt. Justify it to the listeners.
I started a little YouTube channel called Will It Soft Serve. I bought an ice cream machine off eBay cheaply, and I've been putting weird stuff into it. I've put mayonnaise into it, all on
Please
its
clarify
own.
the weird stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, mayonnaise all on its own. No like cream ice cream or anything. And then it's just like an ice
Mayonnaise
cream van.
ice cream.
And go, "Ooh," and it comes out looking like ice cream or not, depending what I put in it.
Yeah.
So mayonnaise worked.
Mayonnaise
That
does
came
work.
out looking like normal ice cream.
That's
and
the worst one though, isn't it? If it
so
looks exactly
mayonnaise
like normal
ice
ice
cream
cream,
can exist.
and then it's mayonnaise.
Mm.
Oh, good lord! I really,
Have you done a
I-
prank video yet?
I don't do prank videos.
it's
Get
mayonnaise.
into the prank side of YouTube.
I need to get a load of air horn sound effects.
Yeah, I mean, no, I genuinely love Will It Soft Serve. Honestly, every now and then when there's a new
Oh,
video,
thank you.
I'll watch it, and sometimes it soft serves, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't.
What will
It's a
happen this
simple
week?
format.
It's a
This week.
mystery.
Simple format.
I either will or won't.
That's what it says on the tin.
Yeah, you should. At some point, this is going to become like a global empire, and you're going to start releasing all of these different ice cream flavors.
Will It
that are
Soft Serve
actually just-
Corporation.
It's just mayonnaise flavored ice cream. You know, that's where it can go. It's got legs. It's got
Start
legs.
a revolution.
God, if it's got legs, then it's some weird ice cream.
It's just
Rattling off your
like
life.
it's just one of those things where like it's like you know when you describe the symptoms of depression and you're like, God man, that sounds so sad. That's just sad. It's like ADHD is just like describe like someone who seems kind of like an asshole. And then there you go, that's why.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, to be fair, and it's a shame because a lot of kids get labeled as being disruptive when really they've just got ADHD. So the other ones for inattention are easily distractible and forgetful in daily activities. So yeah, I mean, if you have 6 of those, you could be for at least 6 months, you could be diagnosed with ADHD, so long as you've had them before you were 12. And then there's the hyperactivity and impulsivity. So you need to have at least 6 of these as well for 6 months, at least. So high level of fidgeting, not sitting still or leaving a seat when expected to sit, running and climbing in situations where it's inappropriate.
Feeling very on show right now. Just like do not move.
Seen.
Yeah, Kim, please stay seated for the entire.
Well, I was going to say it's very
Okay.
good that you are expected to sit, but you have maintained sitting. So
I have, yeah.
You're
so
cured.
cancel the diagnosis.
wow.
It has only been 5 minutes though, so you
Yeah.
know.
Very true.
Come back
anyone's
to me in
game.
6 months. We'll see if I've done it.
Unable to engage in activities quietly, excessive talking, blurting out an answer before the question is finished, having
Hey,
difficulty.
I do that. Sorry, I just did it.
Yeah, I was going to try and do it to make the joke, but I didn't know what you were going to say, so I couldn't blurt out an answer. Because I wasn't listening. That was the problem.
Yeah, no, I actually do that as well. I answer a question before it's finished, and it's very frustrating because I always try and stop it, but I don't realize until.
Try and preempt what the question's going to be.
Well, I'm listening to the question. I'm like, I know what the question is, and then my brain's like, oh, well, I've got the answer. I'll just say it now.
I'll just say it before the question's done.
Yeah,
Save
then-
some time, you know?
Yeah, no.
See, now I got a bit of a rude awakening in this way, which is that I'm doing a degree at the moment, and one of the questions I was like, I know where this question is going. I'll just write the answer, and then I checked the answers, and I got loads wrong because I just didn't read the question to the end.
No.
I learned.
Hey,
Learn
At
to
least you
read
learned.
learn to read questions before answering.
I read the start of them.
yes, not the end. Of
Not
them.
the question part though, which is at the end, really.
The bit with the question mark. Yeah.
All right.
You could have every symptom, but unless it's negatively impacting, I think it's 2 or more areas of your life, then you wouldn't get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of an acknowledgement, I guess, that it's not inherently a disorder as in brain bad. It's like it's kind of a recognition of that it's a neurodivergence, like it's potentially a different way of the brain working that in certain settings will be a benefit, but in a lot of Western professional settings is not a benefit at all.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What settings? In which settings would it be a benefit? Do you have any idea?
I don't know how much. I don't know if you encountered this on your research, Corey. I read an article a while ago that I cannot give you the source of, that was looking at why ADHD would have been so prevalent, like as an evolutionary benefit, because like the only way it could have survived would be if it was a benefit, and they reckon that it was beneficial to the pack but not to the individual. So like risk-taking behaviors, like not being so into a task that your focus is there that you miss sort of predatory or potentially dangerous sounds, so that they would be beneficial to the survival of a whole tribe of people, and therefore the gene would keep going. But then individually, it's just one of those things that isn't super good. But that means that like there was a study, I can't remember where it was, but there was like a nomadic tribe, and they studied, they looked for symptoms of ADHD in the people from that gene pool that had moved into the cities versus the people from that gene pool that had remained living how that tribe lived. And the technical symptoms were still there, but the effects on their lives were just irrelevant because it made them good hunters, it made them fast, it made them have energy. So yeah, it is environmental, I think.
I mean, that's really interesting because, right, this is a fictional example, an incredibly fictional example, but that's almost the exact story of Percy Jackson, if you know.
Sure.
Yeah, Percy Jackson's got ADHD, and it's because actually he's a Greek god, and it's fighting instinct, which, like, I think is a really great interpretation. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that these symptoms, obviously, executive dysfunction is. Well, we'll explain what Kim, do you want to explain what executive dysfunction is?
Yeah, it's very hard to say, isn't it?
I can't get my
every time. It's like,
words. Yeah.
Yeah. So executive dysfunction is an impairment of the executive functions, and the executive functions are the processes in the brain, usually hanging out in the frontal lobe, that organization, basically. So things that make humans unique from animals, in that we can calculate cause and effect, we can inhibit our emotions and impulses, and we can like have all this stimuli coming in, but make a conscious, like, intelligent decision about how to respond to them instead of just like central nervous system immediate response. And so with that, then also by having that awareness all the time, you have a unique sense of time that other animals don't have. And then we don't have that so good, which makes us really bad at time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You once gave a really, really good sort of description of how that would come about in sort of daily life with, I think,
the sock.
Was it that? I think I mugged a cup of tea or something.
Oh, the cup of tea. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So but I had a description of what executive dysfunction feels like in the moment when it's like, because executive dysfunction is one of those things where it's sort of the inability to do all of those things will have this overarching effect on your life and the way you interact with the environment around you. But then there are also moments where you're unable to do something and it's really obvious that you're experiencing executive dysfunction. Like, oh, I am unable to process how to do this task. And that's a really difficult one to explain to people because it's like, why don't you just get out of bed? And I'm like, I don't know. So the way that I describe that one is like, you know, when you're carrying a bunch of laundry and one sock falls down and you've got like all this stuff in your hands and you're like, oh, should I pick up the sock? But then I might drop all the pile of laundry. Or should I go to the washing machine and then come back for the sock? And that moment where you're like frozen, like a deer in the headlights holding the laundry, that's what it feels like to be sort of stuck in one of those very obvious moments where I'm like, I should get dressed and I know my clothes are there and I know that my body is here, but there's too many options that would change the outcome for my brain to settle on step one and then continue the path. And then the other analogy that I gave was like, there is a part of you that's kind of if I'm struggling with something like that, I know, like, oh, cool, this is executive dysfunction. I know what that is. So then why, with my intelligent, conscious part of my mind, can I not just be like, oh, this is how we order the steps of a task? And it's like, say your housemate is rushing out to work and they leave a mug of tea on the table and they're like, oh, can you put that in the sink when you get a chance? You're like, yep, sick, I will. And they rush out. And then you carry on watching TV because you're not rushing to work. And then there's another housemate. And the other housemate is like, you haven't put the mug in the sink yet. And you're like, I know, I'm just going to watch this thing. And they're like, okay. And then 10 seconds later, they're like, you still haven't put the mug in the sink. And you're like, I know, like, this is a low priority task that fits into my day somewhere. And it's not an emergency, because that wouldn't make sense to nag someone about such a small thing. Sometimes trying to order the steps of a task gives my brain the same sense of like confusion and panic as that kind of nagging would, because it's placed every task I have to do in the figure this out later pile, and it doesn't sense that any of them are a current event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. You've got a really good way of sort of describing this stuff. So that
it's taken a long time. Like, if you'd asked me all of this 5 years ago, I would have been like, I don't know, I just can't get up. I don't know what's going on.
Thank you, Mark. Complete.
What are you reading?
Luke, it says Mark complete.
It's because you can mark it complete. Thank you, Tim.
For anyone listening or watching, the list says Mark complete so that we can mark every person as complete once we've tagged
as
them.
completed. There is no one called Mark.
Luke, would you like to read out the actual name? Whoa! Wasn't that a lot of fun?
That was so cool.
Wow. What a great year we've had.
Well, I'm back in my normal clothes.
Oh, man, I feel so good. I feel older again, though, you know?
Yeah.
Like my bones are creaking. But that is almost the end of the year, isn't it? Well, sad to see it go.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
No,
not that
it's
sad
not.
to see it go. No. But 2021 will probably be a much better year. Not just for
everyone and the Sci Guys and all of our patrons.
Yeah, but thank you for coming on this journey with us through 2020, both today and throughout the whole year, because we really appreciate it, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
But that's it for this year. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. You can find the full references for this episode in the description, where you'll find all the little episodes that we went back and traveled to. You can subscribe for new episodes every single Monday or Sunday on YouTube, and you can also leave us a nice wee review on Apple Podcasts, or you can support the pod at patreon.com/Sci Guys. You can follow me at NotCorey everywhere.
You can follow me at Champion everywhere.
You can follow me into 2021 at Luke Cupforth everywhere.
I'm changing all your usernames as soon as it hits 2021. But no, thank you all very much. Have a very, very happy new year. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you in 2021.